Hello YouTube, this is Conrad, aka the Grumpy Grognard, and today we're going to talk about Open Legends, and in specifics we're going to talk about the three core mechanics of attribute roll, success with a twist, and failing forward, or failing with the story progressing, is how it's written in the rules. These three combined are what is termed as every roll matters. In certain other games, most other games, when you succeed with whatever the die and or rule tells you to do. When you fail, nothing happens, or at the very least something terrible happens. Not all games follow this formula, but that's usually the standard. In Open Legend, when you fail, you have two things that are optional that the GM should be using. Success with a twist. Success with a twist means you succeed, but typically something not necessarily bad or a little bit offsetting happens. Dogs. Sorry about that, they seem to have calmed down. Anyway, success with a twist usually means that you have succeeded, but something's off about your success. So for example, you can try to teleport up into a tree. If you rolled and required challenge rating, congratulations. Exactly what you wanted to happen happens. But let's say you fail, either by a little or by a lot. The DM then has the option of giving you a success with a twist. Perhaps you jump into the tree, you teleport into the tree, but the branch you land on snaps, and you fall a few feet, managing to catch yourself but scraping yourself on the tree, taking a few points of damage. Perhaps the expenditure of energy causes you to become fatigued via the Fatigued Bane. Maybe the expenditure of energy to teleport causes you to feel sickened. Any number of those things is success with a twist. This is a very key component to storytelling in Open Legend. The other aspect is failing forward. Failing forward means, yes, you failed, but in some other way the story has progressed. Let's take our teleporting into a tree, for example. Perhaps you attempt to teleport up into a tree branch, and you are unable to have the required concentration to teleport into that branch, and so you roll too low and you fail. However, upon gathering that energy to try to teleport, you sense a darker disturbance around you, aka force sense or something along those lines, and you've managed to avoid the ambush that the DM was having prepared for you. Perhaps you teleport too far, and teleporting past the tree, you've teleported over a cliff and into waters below, and down there you are ambushed by some bandits. Failing forward doesn't necessarily mean something good happens, and it usually means something bad has happened. Taking this into consideration is the attribute roll. Everything in Open Legend is ruled by this attribute. You roll a d20, and then the acquired dice granted to you by your attribute. Attribute of 1 is a d4, attribute 2 is a d6, then a d8, then a d10, then 2d6, 2d8, 3d6, 3d8, and then so on and so forth. Taking this every roll matters is taken further into combat. Okay, adjust here for a second. When you fail in combat in games such as Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, if you swing and you hit, everything goes fine, you roll damage, and combat continues. If you fail, nothing happens. You swing, you miss, the monster laughs in your face, or you roll a critical failure by rolling a 1, and maybe your DM is a jerk and he makes you break your weapon or drop it. Pathfinder has other things that they can do via their decks. In Open Legend, the player and the DM each choose one of 3 options. You can choose to deal 3 damage. You can choose to apply a Bane of power level 3 or less, or you can choose to move 10 feet without any kind of interruption. You You can't provoke attacks of opportunity or whatnot. Both the player and the DM choose this for their respective creature. The DM for the NPC, player for their character. I recently had this happen several times in the last game I played. We have a teleporting ninja, of all things. He is able to teleport 3 times in a round. He's a very quick moving creature. And he wanted to teleport on top of this, up above this swamp panther. And he teleported above, went to make his attack roll, and missed by a lot. And so he chose to use his 10-foot movement without provoking an attack of opportunity and teleported 10 feet away. However, as the DM, I countered that by saying that the panther had swiped at him, narrowly missing him, and he dealt 3 points of damage. Now, that damage doesn't necessarily mean that the cat hit him, but it shook his faith in himself. So instead of dealing a scratching blow, he was shaken and took some damage. Another way this has happened in our game is we had a player who wanted to get across some bridges, a rope bridge, as it were. Now, our teleporter had teleported across this chasm with no problem to himself. This other player wanted to summon some flying creatures to help him out. He failed on his roll. Now, instead of doing a success with a twist, where he summoned the creatures and they were sickened or stunned or whatnot, I decided to fail forward. As he was trying to gather his magic to summon some woodland creatures out of the forest, he sensed disturbing malevolent forces, life forces, on the other side of the chasm, right next to where his teleporting ninja friend was. So instead of my 2 elven archers having the surprise round and possibly killing the ninja outright, he was able to shout out a warning. Now, in this instance, yes, he failed to summon, but still something happened that progressed the story forward. Whether or not I had planned on having those elves there to begin with or not, the players will never know. What every roll matters ultimately means in Open Legend is simply that. Every time a player specifically makes a die roll, something has to come out of it. You can't make perception checks and then fail and so that your barbarian friend can make it for you. If a rogue tries to pick a lock and fails, this isn't an opportunity for the fighter to just break it down with his sword. If the rogue fails to pick a lock, maybe the success with the twist is he's picked the lock and the door opens, but he missed a small needle that deals 3 points of damage, or maybe it deals the persistent damaging bane. Or if in a failing forward he fails to pick the lock, but hears the footprint steps of a guard just behind them, and now they have a chance to gain the keys to gain entry. As a DM, this must always be at the forefront of your mind in Open Legend, because the rules are so varied in interpretation. And we'll get to that in a later video. Hopefully this helps you out a little bit. One more, leaving example. We had on the Discord servers today, we had a gentleman who wanted to make a flaming worm. And he started to overthink it a little bit, where he wanted to have the players take damage when they missed by 5 or more. Apply the persistent damage bane, when his players miss by a certain amount. And I had to remind him that that's already included in the optional rules for success with a twist in combat. While his player may swing, miss, and try to move away, this fireworm has already created this fiery aura, and now he can just automatically apply a power level 3 persistent damage bane anytime his players miss. He forgot all about it. It was amazing to just watch other people remember how simple the rules for this system are, and how open and how easy it is to make exactly what you want to have happen. I hope this helps you guys out, and we'll meet you on the flip side.